Hey, what's going on guys? RVZ Stealth here, and in today's video I have 10 tips for new League of Legends players to hopefully give you the advantage over your opponents in your early levels. Tip number 10 is to try to get used to using your screen unlocked. When I first started playing League, and even to this day, I use a locked screen, and it puts me at a disadvantage in many situations. For example, if I'm playing purple side bot lane, and the enemy team is pushing me into my tower, if I'm using a locked screen, I won't be able to see the opponents as well as I would if I'm using an unlocked screen. Using an unlocked screen will also help you land skill shots easier, and it will just help you have better vision over your opponents than if you're using a locked screen. Tip number 9 is to try to focus turrets more than kills. When I first started playing League, it seemed like all that anybody cared about were kills and how many kills they got per game, when ultimately what win you the game are towers, inhibitors, and the nexus, of course. So, for example, if you're in a team fight and you kill off 4 of the enemy team, and there's one person on the enemy team running away, don't try to chase that champion halfway across the map, because getting a turret over that kill is definitely more worth in any situation. So if you win a team fight, then definitely try to kill towers and push as much as you can. Also, watch the timers. If you press tab, you can see when your enemies respawn, so you will know when they'll be coming, and a lot of players don't do this, which gets them killed very often. So make sure you know when your enemies are respawning so you know when to back off from pushing towers. Tip number 8 is to make sure that you're warding. So what wards do are they give vision over your opponents, and it helps you see where they are. So it helps in lane because it will tell you when the enemy jungler is ganking. It will help when you're team fighting because if you have vision over your opponent, then you can decide whether you want to engage on them or whether you want to back off, depending on how many of your team is grouped up. So definitely buy wards. It will really help you, and they're only 75 gold, so it's definitely money well spent. Tip number 7 is to look up builds for champions and also look up guides. If you're playing a champion for the first time, I would definitely recommend this because it will help you find the optimal build for your champion, giving you the most damage output or giving you the most health if you're playing a tanky champion. So look up builds for champions and guides. It will definitely help you a lot. Tip number 6 is play the easier champions when you start off. For example, Ryze, Garen, Ashe, Master Yi, and Annie are 5 champions that come to mind that are fairly easy to play, and it will help you gain knowledge of the game a lot easier by playing these champions because they're pretty simple. Their kit is fairly easy to learn, so definitely try out these champions if you are new to the game. Tip number 5 is if your inhibitor has been destroyed, then make sure you're very cautious on what you do. So if the enemy team destroys your inhibitor, they will start spawning super minions, as well if you destroy the enemy's inhibitor, your team will start to spawn super minions. And what super minions are basically minions on steroids. They will deal more damage to the other minions, and they will deal more damage to your towers. So you don't want to push too far out of your base when the enemy team has your inhibitor destroyed, because what happens a lot is if you push out of your base and the enemy team has super minions in your base, they will destroy your towers, and a lot of people like to call them winions because they win a lot of games because of this, because you're just careless on what you're doing. So long story short, just make sure when you have your inhibitor destroyed, stay in your base and just defend until it comes back up. Tip number 4 is to try to watch your minimap as often as possible. I would say every 10 to 15 seconds, or even less than that if you can, check your minimap, because if you can see when the enemy is ganking you, that's going to help you a lot. And if you have wards down, you definitely want to be checking your minimap often, because you bought that ward and the purpose of it is to see when the enemy jungler is ganking. So make sure you're checking your minimap either when you try to trade with your opponent, when you're pushing down a tower, or if not, just every like 10 to 15 seconds. Tip number 3 is to don't spend your refunds on stupid things. So when I first started playing League of Legends, I spent my refund on a 450 IP champion, on a Mumu, and on Zac. Those refunds were really dumb of me because I wish I had saved them for purchases with Riot points or 6,300 IP champions. You really only want to spend your refunds for Riot points or for 6,300 IP champions, because it takes you a while to get 6,300 IP, and if you're sure that you don't like that champion, since it took you a while to get those influence points, it would be worth it to refund it if you are sure you're not going to play the champion anymore, or you just don't like the champion. And definitely I would recommend saving your refunds for Riot points, because you spent real money on Riot points, and getting that back is a lot better than getting back a 450 IP champion that takes you 5 or 6 games to get. Also, don't spend your influence points on runes until you hit level 20. Once you hit level 20, you unlock tier 3 runes, which are the only runes you want to be using past level 20. So don't spend your money on tier 1 or tier 2 runes, because you will just be wasting your hard-earned influence points on them. Tip number 2 is to learn how to creep score. What this is when you get the last hit on a minion, then you will gain gold for that last hit, and it's the most optimal way for you to gain money in League of Legends other than getting kills. So I would definitely recommend practicing your CS, which is getting the last hit on the minion, in bot games. Or of course you're going to play bot games when you start off, so I would definitely recommend just trying to practice on your creep score. So many new players really just underestimate it, and I know I did as well when I started playing. And it's the best way for you to get money, like I said, so definitely work on your CS as much as you can. And last but not least, tip number 1 is to learn as many champions as you can right off the start. Every week, Riot releases a few free-to-play champions, which you can play without purchasing them with IP or RP. So if you have the time, I would recommend playing all of the free week champions when they come out, because if you know how to play every single champion in the game, and you know how much damage they can do, and you know what their kit is like, and their abilities that they have. For example, if you're in lane, and you know the enemy champion and how they play, but your opponent doesn't know how your champion plays, you're at such a huge advantage, because you will know what skills they can use, but they won't know what skills you can use. So this will probably end up with you winning the lane and ultimately winning you the game. If you enjoyed the video, be sure to like and subscribe for more League of Legends content. If you have any questions, leave them in the comments below, and I will definitely get back to you on it. So thanks for watching, guys, and I'll see you in my next video.